Hey, friend, welcome to the Bridge Between Us podcast. I'm your host, Melinda Patrick. In the past, you've heard me teach solo and bring in guest voices, and those conversations still matter. For this season, I'm intentionally slowing things down and staying with you more closely. These upcoming episodes are designed to be more guided, more reflective, and more focused on helping you move forward faithfully. Not just in learning, but in living out what we're talking about. Before we begin today's episode, I want to name the season we're in together. This is a season for parents carrying a kind of grief they never expected. The ache of loving a child whose choices challenge what you believe. Seasons of estrangement or distance, and prayers that remain unanswered. If parenting has shaken your faith, your sense of identity, or your confidence in how to move forward, you are not alone and you are not failing. This series is called Still Faithful because many of you are asking a quiet but honest question. What does faithfulness to God and love for my child look like now? Not when things resolve, not when answers come, but right here in the middle of pain, uncertainty, and love that doesn't have a roadmap. Over the next few weeks, we'll slow down together. We'll name what's hard without shame. We'll talk about how to stay spiritually anchored, emotionally steady, and rooted in love, even when outcomes are uncertain. This is not a space for fixing your child or forcing resolution. It's a space for strengthening you so you can move forward faithfully with wisdom, clarity, and hope. Now, I also want to say this because I know some of you may be thinking it. I didn't come here to work on me. My child is the one who needs help. I understand that place. It's a very real and familiar place. And at the same time, one of the hardest truths in parenting is this. We can only work on and control one person, and that person is ourselves. This is a series about allowing God to strengthen and shape us, not because our children don't matter, but because our faithfulness, presence, and posture matter deeply. As we engage God ourselves, He equips us for each next step, even when the path forward isn't clear. If this series meets you where you are, you're in the right place. I am so glad you're here. Now let's begin. If you're here, chances are this past year, or maybe even years before, didn't turn out the way you imagined as a parent. Maybe there's distance where there used to be closeness, silence where there used to be conversation, or decisions your child has made that you never saw coming and don't know how to hold. And somewhere in all of that, you've been trying to stay faithful. Faithful to God, faithful in parenting, trying to pray, trying to love, trying not to let your heart harden, and trying not to fall apart. If this past year has left you questioning yourself, your parenting, or even your faith, I want you to hear this first. This season in parenting does not mean you have failed. One of the heaviest things parents carry in hard seasons is shame. Shame sounds like this. If I had done more, if I had known better, if I had been stronger, wiser, or more spiritual, this wouldn't be happening. If I had seen this coming, said the right thing, responded differently, we wouldn't be here. But faithfulness has never been about controlling outcomes. Faithfulness has always been and will always be about obedience, love, humility, and trust, even when the story doesn't resolve the way or in the timing we hoped. So listen closely. You can be deeply faithful and still be deeply heartbroken. I'm going to say that again. You can be deeply faithful and still be deeply heartbroken. As we begin 2026, I want to invite you into a different way of beginning January. Not with pressure to set new resolutions, not with goals to fix yourself, your life, or your child, not with a rush to make everything better, and not through the lens of self-blame, but through the lens of truth and grace. This is an invitation to strengthen yourself in the Lord. For many parents, especially those carrying unresolved pain, January can feel heavy. A new year doesn't automatically bring new clarity. Sometimes it simply reminds us of what hasn't changed. So rather than asking, what should I do differently this year? What if we began by asking, what would it look like to be steadied by God? To posture my heart to hear His voice? To rest, not in outcomes, but in His faithfulness. As you step into this new year, there may be things you're carrying that were never meant to be yours. Responsibility for another adult's choices, guilt for paths you cannot control, fear about what this means for the future. Part of moving forward faithfully is learning to release what does not belong to you without releasing love. As we begin this season together, the invitation is not to fix anything. It's to tell the truth about where you are and to let God meet you there, not where you think you should be. This year does not need more striving. It needs steadiness, because faithfulness is often quiet and often invisible to everyone but God. This January, my hope is that we slow down together, that we allow God to meet us where we actually are, that we learn to move forward faithfully, one step at a time. In the coming weeks, we'll talk about how to stay rooted in Christ, how to love without losing yourself, how to trust God again when prayers feel unanswered, and how to move forward even when the story isn't resolved. We'll take this slowly, together, one faithful step at a time. If today stirred something in you, I encourage you to pause before moving on with your day. Let this be a moment of honesty, not pressure. God has entrusted this journey and your child to you. As you engage with Him, faithfully, He will equip you for each next step. I'll talk to you next week, friend.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bridge Between Us podcast with Melinda Patrick. To find out more, go to melindapatrick.org. Once you're there, you can check out the many resources that Melinda has available. Also, you can book Melinda for your next speaking engagement. Just click on the speaking tab at the top of the page for more information. All of this can be found at melindapatrick.org. Thank you for listening in today. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of The Bridge Between Us with Melinda Patrick.